I'm going to call the meeting to order. And first of all, I would like to welcome Gregory Abgali, our new board member. He has been appointed by Senate Minority Leader Len Fasano. Greg, you just want to introduce yourself and in 1 minute tell us who you are?
Yes, so my name is Greg Abgali, and I'm a builder-developer in the state. So I'm president and chief legal officer for T&M Building Company. And we build residential homes around the state, and we usually have anywhere from 6 to 10 communities active. And I'm also the immediate past chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. And so, like all of you, I'm on a number of boards and stay active in this area. I believe it's worth it to keep our state housed properly.
Thank you, Greg. Shelley, we want to have the roll call to see if we have a quorum.
Yes. Jerry Abrahams?
Present.
Wendy Clark?
Here.
Heidi DeWinker?
Here.
Ann Foley?
I'm here.
Kylie Goslin?
Here.
Tim Hodges?
Here.
Catherine McKinnon?
Here.
Bill Mascara-Bruno?
Here.
George Perez?
Here.
Franklin Perry?
Here.
Sarah Sanders? Here. Jared Schmidt?
Here.
Lisa Pepper Bates?
Here.
Gwendolyn Thames? Gwendolyn? Greg Gugalde?
Here.
Thank you, Shelley. So we have a quorum. Public comment. You're on, Shelley, again.
I just want to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded, so please identify yourself before speaking. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? Looks like no public comments. So I'll turn the meeting back over to you. Kayla, it might take a minute just to share my screen so I can get the agenda up.
Sure. Thank you, Shelley. All right, so we're going to start our meeting. First of all, thank you all for being here. I hope that you are having a great summer. And it's always good to see you all through video. So while Shelley put up the agenda to share, I'm going to have Nandini. You are going to provide us with a report.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, members of the board. It's been a very, very busy month, as usual. We've had a lot of competing priorities, but we've been able to make progress on a number of different areas. So before you today, we have for approval the QAP. We received over 74 written comments. And as well as a public hearing, and so we've had to do a significant amount of work to figure out kind of what the comments were about, and we bring it for your approval today. Last month we got approval to move forward with the Capital Magnet Fund, which was an application for funds from the United States Treasury and the CDFI organization, and I'm happy to report that we submitted our application this past Monday. So we will await the results of that. We've been working on our reopening plan. Obviously, it has to be in concert with with all the other executive branch agencies as well as DOH, and we've submitted a draft plan to the OPM secretary. We're essentially advocating for a telecommute where possible, along with a phased-in approach whereby no more than 50% of CHFA employees would be in the building at once. And we will continue to monitor the progression of the disease, as well as ensuring that our workplace continues to be a place where people can be safe and be provided with PPE where necessary upon entry. So this is something that is currently in progress, but at the moment everybody continues to telecommute. The strategic plan continues to be being worked on. We've created our working groups. Thank you for those board members who have agreed to be part of our working groups. We are actively meeting throughout August and September, and we will be creating some structure around our proposed goals. The biggest endeavor that was undertaken this last month was around the emergency mortgage and rental assistance programs. As you might recall, at June board, the board approved CHFA to work with DOH to create and administer a program for both renters and homeowners. This month, my report is verbal. However, Hazim and Mike Santoro from DOH are both present. If you have any questions, I'm sure they'll be able to answer it if there's a detail that I'm not aware of. But starting next month, we intend to provide a written report to the board with details around participation. So I'm going to go over really quickly the high level of what's happened with the program. The program provides temporary mortgage and rental assistance using CARES Act and EMAP funds, respectively. On Monday, June 29th, after our board meeting, Governor Lamont announced the availability of funds to help the residents of the state, including from the programs I just described. During the week of June 29th, we were able to sign up 11 housing counseling agencies that CHFA currently has contracts with, who are going to help on the rental side with helping applicants for rental assistance complete their applications. There's a process whereby the initial eligibility for rental and mortgage assistance is performed by a call center, and then upon review of the data that's provided by the call center, those names and those details will be provided to the housing counseling agencies for their work with those homeowners and with those tenants, helping them complete their applications. On Friday, July 10th, CHFA engaged a call center based in Norwalk, Connecticut, and again, as I mentioned, they are the front line.
You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing star 6.
Application eligibility. On July 15th, the program was launched. Residents are able to call the call center from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. What I can tell you right now is that the response has been absolutely overwhelming, not surprising. I can give you a brief snapshot of some of the data that has come out in the last 3 weeks. In week 1, we received 1,700 calls, half of which were from renters and the other half were from homeowners. About 33% of those 1,700 callers actually completed answering all the questions. So that's a very low percentage, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The average time for waiting to speak to somebody was around 3 to 4 minutes. Week 2, we had about 4,000 calls. reaching the call center. 66% of those were renters, 33% were homeowners. 23% of that 4,000 call number actually completed answering all the questions. Again, a pretty low percentage. The average time for holding was around 4 or 5 minutes. The reason for the disparity, some of the reasons for the disparity between the number of calls reaching the call center and the number of individuals who actually completed answering all the questions. Some of those reasons are sometimes callers have used multiple phone lines to engage, more than one phone calling the same number and bombarding the call center. Sometimes callers did not wait to speak to a live person if their wait had been a little bit longer. In some cases, callers were informed that they did not qualify, depending on the program that they were interested in. In many cases, callers may not have had the information on hand that was needed to determine initial eligibility for the programs, and so had to call back. And in some cases, we did find that there are duplicate entries from the call center. So, in short, there have been some glitches along the way. We've received some feedback about long wait times, and we've been working diligently to try to figure out what to do about that. We did come up with a solution, and I'm happy to report that we've been able to establish a website that has been posted both on the CHFA and the DOH sites, as well as on the flyers for each of the programs. And basically, the website will allow folks to pick either calling the call center, or they can just go online and they can fill in essentially a one-page eligibility questionnaire, and that will allow them to completely skip the call center route and instead put in their information and have that come in directly to CHFA for it to determine whether these individuals are eligible for either mortgage or rental assistance. So since that has been launched, we have noticed that there has been activity on the website, which is heartening. And between July 31st, which was the cutoff date for Tier 1 being, on the rental side, being any household that was at 60% or below AMI, denied unemployment benefits or pandemic assistance, and a household has to have at least one minor. Those are considered Tier 1. Those applicants are being reviewed currently. Those individuals are being reviewed, and DOH will start notifying those callers as well as the respective counseling agencies for referral to enable those folks to work with the counseling agencies to get their applications in for rental assistance. On the mortgage assistance side, all of that is being handled in-house by CHFA, and the process we're following there is that a significant number of individuals are ineligible for this mortgage assistance because they may have federally insured loans, and the federally insured loans provide a much better assistance in terms of the length of repayment of any accrued amounts due, as well as modification options. And so we're calling back these individuals and advising them of their options and to essentially work with their lenders to try to work on repayment and forbearance options. About 22%, 64% were ineligible because of federal insurance. 22% did not satisfy other parameters of the program. And staff has been reaching out to those people as well and discussing alternative options for those folks. About 14% have satisfied eligibility as of July 27th, and we are going to start working with those individuals to get the assistance application completed. If there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them, or perhaps Mike or Hazim can give assistance as well.
Any questions for Nandini?
I have a question real quick. Nandini,
Sure.
this is Lisa. Do you see any pattern in why it is that people are not eligible? And you might not have had a chance to look at that, but are you seeing anything emerge?
On the mortgage assistance side,
Yeah.
that's where you're asking. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the biggest trend, like I said, was that folks are federally insured. So a part of, I think, the education that we are trying to do is advise people of their options, as well as providing them tools for determining whether or not their loan is federally insured, because that is something that a lot of people had a question about, like, how do I know that? So we're directing them to this site that has been set up by the CFPB that allows them to actually input, and I tried it myself. I put in my own name and my home address, and it does seem to work. It tells you your loan is either held by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or Ginnie Mae, and then once you know that, you're going to have to work with your lender to try to figure out what your options are. Hazim, did you want to add anything to my response? Are you on mute?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry. No, I think you said it all. I think part of the biggest challenge that we had when we were rolling out the program was, when people see this assistance, some of them will jump at the opportunity trying to get those assistance, not knowing whether or not they qualify, not knowing whether or not they need to pay it back. It's just that they need help, and we understand that. So what we're trying to do is to have this follow-up discussion with them, trying to talk with them to see what other alternatives are available to them.
Thank you, Hazim. Any other questions?
This is Sarah. I was just listening to this. It seems so messy that so many of them aren't qualified because their mortgages are federally insured. Any way we can streamline that? It must be frustrating for them to spend that time and then find out they can't even participate. But I know you said there's a website they have to go to, but I'm trying to think of any other way to streamline that for them. Yeah.
So one of the things we've done is kind of we've put out some flyers that actually have this information on the flyer. We've actually given them the link to the site on the flyer that says to find out if you're federally insured, go to the site. I mean, we're trying to send the message out in as many ways as we can. I mean, I don't know what else we can do.
Well, and I think that what we're trying to do, or the staff is trying to do at CHFA level, is actually educating and advising those homeowners that they could get the help, but they didn't know. Many families do not know that their mortgage is federally insured. So they actually, CHFA staff is calling them back and saying these are the options. And then if those options do not work, then they can go through the program. And we will keep an eye on those that do not qualify for the program, even if they're not insured by the federal government, so that we can take a look at the pattern and maybe we need to tweak the program. But we will be looking at that very closely. Any other questions?
I mean, I think also what's happening is some people may know that they are federal insured, but don't realize that they don't qualify for the program. Because by the time you put this program together, a couple of months already went by where many of the services already notified their customers of what the programs was available.
Yeah.
And I know on my website at the Department of Banking, we also have the thing that Nandini referred to about how to find out if your mortgage is federally insured or not. I know we've done several press releases So I think what's happening is what Hasim say, that people need help, right? So anything they hear, they're going to try.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Human nature.
The option we're considering, and I think we're probably going to do it right away, is work with our lender network, even though, the ones that are in our program for the most part that we would be able to communicate with, and just have a conversation with them about how they could be a point of referral to the extent that there are loans that are not federally insured, or reiterate kind of what we would expect that they should be doing in following the guidance that's come down from the federal government. So, I mean, we've been doing that over time. I think another conversation could be timely as well.
All right. You want to continue with the other two items that you have?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So we have a couple of resolutions for your approval today. They are honoring two individuals who have had long and distinguished state service and have served CHFA diligently for many years. They are Mary Bryant, who, as you know, retired from CHFA on June 30th, and Diane Smith, who also retired from state service on July 31st. In recognition of their vast contributions to CHFA and the state of Connecticut, I would like to get the board's approval for these two resolutions honoring Mary Bryant and Diane Smith. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the two resolutions.
Thank you, Greg.
Second, Tim.
Tim, second. Any comments, any questions, discussion? Shelley, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Carrie Abraham?
Hi.
Andy Clark?
Yes.
Heidi Dinger?
Yes.
Ian Foley?
Yes.
Kylie Goslin?
Sorry.
Yes. Tim Hodges?
Yes.
Catherine McKinnon? Aye. Kayla Mascara Bruno?
Yes.
George Perez?
Yes.
Franklin Perry?
Yes.
Sarah Sanders?
Yes.
Jared Schmidt?
Aye.
Lisa Tepper Bates? Aye. Glenda Lampanes? Greg Ugaldi?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Shelley. Motion carries. Nandini, do you want to finish with your report?
Oh, I'm done.
You're done?
Yes.
Thank you. Any question for Nandini on any questions overall?
I just had, this is Kylie, just one more on the TRAC program, mostly on the rental side. I know, Mike, when we last spoke, you said that there was about 100 eligible applicants a day that you guys were encountering through the TRAC rental program. And I know that you all have heard me say this and that you all are well aware and working on this, but the $10 million that's set aside for that program, should most of those applicants be eligible for something close to the max, would be gone in about a month or a month and a half at most. Are there any new updates on plans underway to put some more funding into that program moving forward, noting that we're reaching the end of the eviction moratorium here in a month?
Sure, I can talk about that just a little, Kylie. We're actually seeing, and for those who may not be aware, we're prioritizing assistance. Essentially, we have two priorities in 2-week increments. Priority one is individuals at 60% of earning income or below with a child in the household who have been denied unemployment compensation. Second 2 weeks, 80% of earning income or below and individuals who have been denied unemployment. When we get to week 5, then we open up the program essentially to anyone whose 2019 income was 80% of earning income or below, regardless of their unemployment status. as of this moment, we are evaluating what we call batch 1, which is the first 2 weeks of threshold questionnaires. We estimate there are going to be a total of about 150 priority 1 households. Behind that, there's about another 125 or so priority 2 households, which we will deal with in the next 2 weeks. So the original estimate of using up the money in the first 4 weeks is a little excessive. We are not getting the interest that we need or the interest that we anticipated, in parts because the moratorium has been extended, in part in a conversation with a number of individuals in the housing industry. Because of the moratorium, tenants aren't feeling the pinch. There's no pressure at this point, no threat of eviction, which would prompt people to call. At least that's the perception. When and if the additional unemployment compensation goes away, we know that number will go up as pressure will increase. When the moratorium goes away, we know that number will go up and pressure will increase. We have made a commitment to the Secretary of OPM to provide detailed information on the size of the interest in the program 2 weeks from now. At that point, it is our hope that if there is sufficient interest, need, documented evidence that we need to expand the program, that we can ask the Secretary to do so at that time. So for right now, if you were to ask me, do I have enough money based on current need? Yes. Based on what we expect to happen, obviously, I think everybody knows that that answer is no. So for right now, we have what we have. We have enough to manage the interest that we have in the program. 2 weeks from now, we expect that to change. And when it does, as Nandini has committed, you'll get detailed information on the program and our activity.
And Mike, is my understanding correct that folks, at least in this first priority group, had to be, and maybe it's the full program, had to be current on rent in order to be eligible? So in other words, if you've fallen behind on rent, at some point you're not eligible for the program?
No, Kylie. What we talk about in the program guide is, with assistance under the program, you would have to be current. That is, you fell behind in March, April, and May. We calculate your assistance up to a maximum of $1,000 per month, including March, April, May, etc. With our assistance and your contribution at 30% of your income, you have to cover the whole rent. What, however, we cannot do is arrearages prior to March. So if you had an arrearage before March, you need to resolve that, either paid in full or a retaining agreement with the landlord. Rent, voluntary or court-ordered, those all bring you current. So from a threshold perspective, you do have to get there. That doesn't keep you out of the program, but we tell you that up front so you're aware of what your obligation may be. People are still get through the threshold questionnaire and potentially eligible for participation, but it's one of those eligibility criteria that has to get satisfied down the road before we actually offer you assistance.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, Kylie, you don't have any other questions, right? You're good. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Moving on, we have 3 resolutions in the multifamily, and the first resolution is for Brookside Village Apartments. Wendy Morse is going to present the resolution. Wendy? Wendy, are you in mute?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. The request before you is to approve a prepayment of the CHFA loan on Brookside Village Apartments. Brookside Village is a 160-unit elderly development located in Stonington. It is a Section 8 property with a HAP contract that expires in July of 2034. Navigate Affordable Housing Partners administers the HAP contract on behalf of HUD. The Bain Development Company out of Rhode Island is both the owner and the manager of this property. Gilbane companies are involved in the development, construction, and property management, and their projects include affordable housing, student housing, market rate housing, and mixed-use communities. They have owned the property since it was built. The loan was closed in 1985. Brookside Village is the only CHFA property that they have in their portfolio, and it's their only property in Connecticut. At this time, their intent is to sell the property. The current balance of the loan is approximately $1.4 million. The interest rate is 9.5%, and the maturity date is November 2022. The affordability will be maintained through 2034 because of the HAP contract, but CHFA will also be putting on a restrictive covenant document to ensure that affordability. In addition, the restrictive covenant will give CHFA the opportunity to review a proposed buyer. The property has been well maintained. They've completed many capital improvements, especially over the last 10 years. It has new siding, windows, doors, boilers, asphalt, and also fire alarm upgrades were completed. Common areas and units are upgraded as they turn over. As part of the prepayment, CHFA will receive a housing maintenance fee of approximately $23,000. Are there any questions?
Any question for Wendy? If not, can I have a motion?
I'll second that.
So who moved it?
Ann Bowen.
Thank you, Ann. Greg seconded.
It also mentioned that it passed unanimously in the mortgage committee as well.
Thank you. Any discussions? Any questions for Wendy? Shelley, could you do the roll call, please?
Gary Abraham?
Aye.
Wendy Clark?
Aye.
Aida Winger?
Aye.
Ann Foley?
Aye.
Kylie Goslin?
Aye.
Kim Hodges?
Aye.
Catherine McKinnon?
Aye.
Kayla Mastera Bruno?
Aye.
George Perez?
Aye.
Franklin Perry?
Aye.
Sarah Sanders?
Aye.
Jared Schmidt?
Aye.
Lisa Tepper Bates?
Aye.
Greg Uvalde?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Debbie, also you're going to present the Macedonia Townhouse and Sonia prepayment?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I'm Debbie Alter. I'm a manager in the multifamily area. The resolution before you seeks approval of prepayment for a mortgage on Macedonia Townhouses in Antonia using escrow funds currently held by CHFA. The current balance of the mortgage is approximately $66,500, and the current interest rate on it is 3%. The payoff will include a program maintenance fee of $2,729. This is a 17-unit family development. The mortgage was originally funded in 1995 in the amount of $275,000, and it will mature on August 1st, 2025. The property is affordable to households at or below 54% of the area median income, and this affordability restriction will remain on the property following payoff of the loan. The affordability is guaranteed by 3 different documents. One is the CHFA Declaration and Agreement of Restrictive Covenants, which will remain on the property. Second is a ground lease, which doesn't terminate until July 23rd, 2080. And the last one is an assistance agreement, which also does not expire, and this was executed when the property was originally developed with financing from the Department of Housing Land Bank Land Trust Program. And my understanding is there will be continued monitoring of the projects through this program. Property was last inspected by CHFA staff in December of 2019 and found to be in satisfactory condition. To minimize disruption on their residents, the owner has historically addressed capital needs arisen as small projects rather than large projects, and they've used operating funds and have not accessed their CHFA replacement reserve. As a result, that reserve has continued to grow. The property insurance was paid in June for the upcoming year, and the property taxes that were due July 1st have also leaving bounces in those escrows, and CHFA also holds a residual receipt escrow. In 2019, the owner experienced a decrease in revenue and a decrease in repair costs, which resulted in their annual financial statement showing the debt service coverage of less than 1%. The owner would like to stabilize the financial position of the property by paying off the mortgage. They are aware of funding opportunities that CHFA has to offer and have also indicated they will seek grant funding if large capital needs arise in the future. And the owner also understands and commits to maintaining the affordability restriction on the property. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Deb. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll move it. This is Ann.
Thanks, Ann. Second?
I'll second Jerry Abrahams.
Thank you, Jerry. Any questions or discussion?
This is Ann. I just wanted to note that there was significant discussion at the mortgage committee on this one for $66,000 prepayment. And the issue was originally raised by Kylie about, what is going to be the ongoing monitoring of the physical condition of the property. And the answer is that the Department of Housing will be doing an annual inspection, and they do have significant leverage because of the ownership of the land. So that kind of led to a discussion about making sure that we set conditions in the future about physical conditions that we're aware of and addressing that as we do prepayments, which also then led into a discussion about prepayment policy in general, and our understanding that there's some frustration that there is perhaps a misperception out there that CHFA does not allow for prepayment. So I think Nancy was going to go back and look at prepayment policy and bring that forward for a board review. So it did pass unanimously ultimately, but there was that discussion that took place at the mortgage committee level.
Thank you, Ann. Any questions? Shelley, could you do the roll call, please?
Jerry Abrahams.
Aye.
Wendy Clark.
Aye.
Peggy DeWinger.
Aye.
Ann Foley.
Aye.
Kylie Goslin.
Aye.
Tim Hodges.
Aye.
Catherine McKinnon.
Aye.
Selma Scaraburno.
Aye.
George Perez.
Yes.
Franklin Perry.
Aye, if you want, man. Yeah. Aye.
Sarah Sanders.
Aye.
Jared Schmidt. Jared Schmidt. Lisa Tepper Bates.
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. We didn't hear Jared.
Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you, Shelley. And Terry Nash, are you on mute? She's going to walk us through the QAP and the amendments that we have to adopt. So, Terry?
Yes, good morning. Thank you. You have before you a resolution to approve the final draft of the 2020 Loans and Housing Tax Credit QAP and the multifamily rental housing procedures and life check procedures as presented. At its meeting in May, this Board of Directors authorized a public hearing and an associated public comment period for the QAP, which were both suitably noticed and held. The public hearing was held on June 17th. As mentioned earlier, I believe there were no comments received in respect to the changes proposed for the procedures, but there were numerous responses to the QAP. I will describe some of the general themes that emerged from the comments, but you have in your package an executive summary of all of the comments, followed by a red-line version of the QAP that incorporates just those comments. Everything else has already been incorporated, but you'll see just those comments that we are recommending revisions to in red, just to make it a little easier to read. The full red line is also provided in your packages. You also received earlier this week the link to the CHFA website, public hearing audio, as well as all of the text from the public comments. So you should have had access to that as well, and we will continue to have. Regarding Passive House, there was near universal opposition to reducing the points incentive for Passive House and sustainability design measures. Of the total respondents, there was concern that Passive House design standards were not given the weight due in terms of the scale of sustainability measures. It was mentioned that Passive House achieves greater efficiencies and helps the state to meet its goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, and that reducing points now is detrimental to developments that have already included Passive House in their proposals for a November application. It was widely requested that we return to the 2019 standards of additive points and increase, if possible, the Passive House points incentive. So what we are recommending is that we restore the 2019 scoring structure. It's the same as in 2019 in terms of total points, and that we do include the addition of LEED standards. That's a new measure that was widely advocated. The 90% plans and specifications and cost effectiveness hard costs was another area that received a lot of comment. And then from that community, it was basically half and half in favor and against. The concerns were that a reduction in the points for 90% plans and specs disadvantages those developers who have already invested in that work. And maybe more importantly, there was a concern that there was going to be an imbalance in the geographic distribution of successful developments if the hard cost effectiveness points were reduced. So we are recommending no change to the proposed points reduction in 90% plans and specs, but not reducing the points as originally proposed for cost effectiveness hard costs. We can reconsider those and maybe a different methodology for the 2021 QAP. On the credit limit, of the total respondents, there was great concern that the decrease in the credits to a firm fixed number and the decrease in soft funding would together make development proposals coming forward in November infeasible. So we are recommending reinstating the credit limit relative to the population component and introducing a hard cost limit in the subsequent year's QAP. For transit-oriented development, respondents with comments in this area were looking for an expansion of the ability to earn points for access to transit. This has been a board discussion and will be considered, I think, extensively going forward. So we're recommending no changes in the 2020 QAP, but implementing changes that are consistent with the board strategic plan in the next QAP, 2021. So there might be other changes as well. Under threshold requirements, there was some confusion on item number 9, which appeared to combine 3 concepts under the umbrella of affordability, so we are providing some clarification for that. And there was also a request to change the structure of very low income targeting, changing from total to qualified units. We're recommending no change to the way the calculation is made for very low income units for the threshold requirement. project finance with tax-exempt bonds. There was some opposition from the development community to proposed language that appeared to constrain the selection of the lender. There was some thought that we were channeling the loan activity to CHFA, which was not the intent. So we are clarifying with the addition of language from the Internal Revenue Code. In general, there were several other comments offered for suggestions for improvement for the QAP. These will provide an opportunity for additional consideration going forward in 2021 and maybe subsequent years QAP. Broadly, those comments addressed topics such as timing, elderly housing need, opportunity area development, forward allocation, and the application review process, among others. There was interest also expressed in participating in training or roundtable discussions. So we anticipate beginning work on the 2021 QAP fairly soon, and we're going to make strong efforts to engage the stakeholder and community partners that we have in discussions around this work. We're recommending considering researching and potentially implementing additional comments that we have had, and we will see going forward to align with the board's strategic plan in 2021 and subsequent years QAPs. We're further recommending that the 2021 QAP remain in place for 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23. Work on the subsequent QAP, 24 to 26, should begin in 2022, and that would resolve the time issue. With your approval and adoption of the QAP as presented, we will submit it to the governor for his signature. A virtual overview session will be held for our development partners and the stakeholder community, and a fall input schedule would be announced. We're anticipating applications in November. I'm recommending that the board adopts the 2020 QAP as presented and additionally adopt the revisions to the LIHTC and multifamily rental housing program procedures that were presented in May and which remain unchanged. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Terry. Let me go through, if I can have a motion for the approval of the adopting the amendment to the QAP and the multifamily rental housing program.
I'll make that motion. It's Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Do you have a second?
Second, this is Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. Any discussion? Question, comment. I do have to say, Terry, you have done a great job. There were, I don't know how many responses, because to my desk, I have many of them, and you were able to put them in a summary and a place that we could really understand and see the point of view of developers, architects, citizens. It really was well coordinated. So thank you very much for Terry and staff for the effort of putting all this. So if anybody has any questions, any comments?
Yeah, it's Tim Hodges. I will echo Scylla's comments. This is a process where no one's ever happy with the QAP or fully happy with it, and then once you make changes, everyone wants it to be the same sometimes. So, Terry, you did a tremendous job. It's a difficult process, but making it look easy, and also thanks to the committee. There are a couple of things I had questions about. One, I think you've already addressed. But the issue of actually implementing this and having it go through 2023, I believe, I guess my question is, and I thought we had originally said that we were going to kind of include all the stakeholders this year and then implement next year with a longer extended time, and maybe I was just wrong on that. I'm wondering if it makes sense for us to at least consider having all the stakeholders have input before implementing a proposal that would go for 3 years.
So, Kim, this is actually just for 2020 for the applications that are coming in November.
Okay.
The 2021 QAP is the one that we really working on and just the engagement going with the community so we could get people's input. And this is the timing issue, right? So we
Right.
are making changes now. The patient that's only a couple months away.
Yep.
Larger changes that we want to make would be for the following years of that round.
And that would go for the 3 years.
And that will go for 3 years.
Okay, then that's perfect. That's what I thought we'd originally talked about. So Thank you again, Terry. Excellent job, and the committee members. I think this is a good outcome.
Thank you.
Hey, Sheila, it's Jerry Abraham. I just have a procedural question.
Yes, Jerry.
So has any subcommittee of the board voted on this, or is this just being voted on by the board as a whole?
No, there was a committee that worked with Terry, Jerry, from the board.
Okay, the task force.
The task force.
Got it. Okay. And so this is the unanimous recommendation of the task force?
So this is the recommendation. The task force met several times, and then we put it for public comments. So yes, we made some recommendations and went out for public comments.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila, just a quick comment that, again, echoing what you said, thank you, Terry, for all your work on this. And Nandini, I think you had what's a really important idea, which was to, for our next iteration of this, somehow access information so that we can look at what other states do rather than just focusing on the way we did it in Connecticut. So I can't remember if we discussed that in the context of the full board or if that was just for the task force's benefit. But I'm really excited about the prospect of being able to reflect on our QAP with some more knowledge about what other states do, including probably from our own Masuda. So that's great, and I'm looking forward to that. And I did just want to flag one issue, which was really an interesting, I thought, public comment. And I can't remember, Terry, who made it. But there was one comment that one of the problems with Passive House, if this is factually correct, is that most of the material required to build Passive House is actually imported from overseas. If that's factually right, that there just aren't a lot of manufacturers that meet that standard in the United States as a contention, and I think it was actually someone in the construction industry who submitted that. So if that's true, that caught my eye, of course, because then you're really talking about a much more complex picture with regard to the impact on carbon footprint. And I think we'd really want to look at that and understand that a little bit better if that's accurate.
Yeah, Lisa, I remember that comment. It came through my desk too. It was pretty interesting on the perspective of the builder. It was a builder. So we also have a comment from a couple of architects about the net zero, and they actually suggested to have a task force. So I think that's why she's going to take them on, this group of architects, and maybe she can involve some builders too, so that we can have perspectives not just from the architect point of view, but also from the practitioners and the ones that are using the materials. But that's a great point. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is Kylie, and I think adding the lead component to it adds some more flexibility around that, Lisa. So I'm a lead AP, and I can tell you I think that there may be some more, it's a more widely accepted use standard, I think, in the United States, and so it's become more commonplace. And I wouldn't speak from a construction standpoint, but my guess is that it's better to source materials under that regime as opposed to Passive House, perhaps. So adding that at least adds some more flexibility on that component.
Yeah. Any other comments? Questions?
Yeah, I have a comment. First of all, I apologize. My Wi-Fi went down during the last vote, and I just wanted to register for the record that I was in favor of the last item that passed.
Thank you, Jerry.
Second, thanks to Terry and the task force for all this work. I know it's a huge undertaking. I don't remember if we did this in the past or not, but is there a way to, I mean, I know we can go through the red line version, but is there a way to summarize the changes from last year to this year in the future so that we have a single document to work off of that, captures all the changes?
Yes, I know that red line was really kind of cumbersome this year because we did some rearranging to make it smoother and easier to read, so then everything seemed red. But we will do that going forward, make it simpler to see just exactly what is being changed, even if it's a narrative that covers that QAP.
I appreciate that. And I have one specific question on the building plans and specifications. It looks like compared to the last version, we're reducing the weighting of that threshold, that 90% threshold.
Yes. That was due in large part to comments we've received previously over numerous comment periods that requiring the 90% level really is a disadvantage for a lot of developers who don't have the financial capacity to fully invest in the development that may or may not get funded. Nonprofits and for-profits as well. There was some desire to meet what other states do, and Connecticut appears to be the only one that labels such activity as 90% dry. Of course, other states might say bid ready, a scaling of points to get to bid ready. So we're looking at a different way to approach that. Right now, recognizing that 90% plans and specs do prove to be a hurdle that's not really possible for a lot of our other developers.
I see. And then just to piggyback on Tim's question about how we're going to vote again to do the 3-year extension. We're just voting on this year. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. So this resolution is to accept the QAP as presented plus the 2 procedures, the multifamily rental housing and the LIHTC procedure. We're suggesting that we could address the timing issue by next year's QAP being for an extended period of time, not this one. This one is for really to serve the purpose of the November round, the November 2020 round. And then the next QAP that you're going to be working on could very well be extended. So if you decide at that time.
If I can just add a little bit, is because when we're going to do extensive work and start early. Terry's going to start next month, I think.
Yes.
So she's going to start early, and if there are changes that are going to be made, so it really, a development doesn't happen in a year, it happens in a couple of years. So given it's 3 years is kind of, a developer knows on those 3 years what is going to happen and how they're going to get a point. That if we change it every year, we're going to make significant changes. It really hurts what people are having working, because really a development comes with 3 to 5 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, Shelley, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Terry Abraham?
Aye.
Wendy Clark?
Aye.
Heidi DeWinger?
Aye.
Ann Foley? Aye. Kylie Gosselin?
Aye.
Tim Hodges?
Aye.
Catherine McKinnon? Aye. Della Mascara Bruno?
Aye.
George Perez?
Yeah.
Franklin Perry? Franklin Perry? Muted. Sarah Sanders? Jared Schmidt?
Aye.
Lisa Tepper Bates? Aye. Greg Ugalde?
Aye.
Everyone but Franklin Perry and Sanders.
Sorry, I got cut off. I'm driving, so I hit a dark spot. I approve.
Sarah?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Motion carries. And again, Terry, thank you for the great work. Looking forward to the next iteration of the QAP. I know that it's going to be great feedback from the community. Our next item on the agenda are 2 reports, and one is Masuda Omar is going to give us a report on the immediate and temporary financial accommodation for multifamily mortgages due to COVID-19. Masuda?
Good morning, Commissioner, members of the board. In the interest of time, I will be very quick. So this update is for the month of June. Overall demand for COVID forbearance continues to be lower than expected. We've not received any new applications since the June board meeting. CHFA currently has 7 active requests. So as a percentage of the portfolio, this represents just over 1.1% of the total unpaid principal. We're continuing to see requests where mortgages are withdrawing for various reasons. So, obviously we're being flexible with them at this time, and this is really at their discretion if they feel like they need the relief. Also wanted to highlight a couple of projects. Access Housing at Parker Place, while they requested relief under COVID, and after reviewing and determining their request, because this is a construction loan, we were able to work with them outside of COVID. And then the other development is 323 Fairfield at Bijou Square. We are currently working with them on COVID relief, a temporary solution, but we hope to be coming back to the board at a later board meeting for a modification of their mortgage. And again, just lastly, our staff is continuing to work with mortgagors and suspending reserves. Again, those are just handled outside of the program, and I would be happy to answer any questions. My next update will be at the September board meeting.
Thank you, Masuda. Any questions or comments? All right. Thanks, Masuda. Michelle, are you going to give us a report on the Housing Tax Credit Contribution Program for 2020?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm one of the managers in the multifamily department, and I am very happy to report today that we have concluded the Htcc Round for 2020. Just for anyone that's not familiar with the Htcc program, it is a program to incentivize businesses to make cash contributions to a nonprofit that sponsors a housing program for the benefit of low and moderate income families. The Commissioner of Revenue Services grants a credit against the taxes due by the business in an amount equal to a tax credit voucher that CHFA will issue upon conclusion of the round. Historically, we get $10 million a year. Of that $10 million, we are required to set aside $1 million for workforce housing, $2 million for supportive housing, and then the remainder of those dollars goes into a general class. This year, we received 34 applications totaling $15.2 million. We had a team of 6 that initially reviewed all of the applications for threshold. And similar to other competitive rounds that we run, there was a clarification period wherein reviewers had the opportunity to request explanations from applicants regarding some information that may have been unclear. Upon conclusion of that period, the reviewers did an initial point review. And then from that point to here, there were multiple layers of review. Point documentation was reviewed at the management level by the 2 team leaders. Our multifamily directors did a quality control review, and at the same time, our internal audit was conducting a review of the program as well. So several layers of review this year. In summary, 24 of the 34 applicants are going to be receiving awards. 9 will utilize funds for supportive housing. 3 are going to capitalize revolving loan funds that will provide low-cost loans for the rehab or construction of housing to benefit low and moderate income individuals and families. And then the remaining 12 are going to either create or rehab both elderly and family housing throughout various towns in the state. What the report will show you, if you take a look at this is the award list, and you'll see that on the last page, 10 out of the total 34 will not receive an award, 4 of which failed to meet threshold, and that means that they didn't supply the required documentation in order to be included in the round. And after we make these awards, the awardee will have 60 days to obtain a commitment to purchase the credits. Historically, Eversource has been the purchaser of these credits, and they have expressed an interest in purchasing all of them this year as well. So we're hopeful that the securing of these commitments will not be difficult for the awardees to obtain. In terms of compliance, this year we made some changes because the awardees have 3 years to use their funds. They have always been required to submit a quarterly progress report to CHFA, but in addition to that, now they are required to submit evidence of the use of these funds. They have to do that by submitting bank statements together with invoices that substantiate the disbursements from these accounts. And then beginning in August, we're going to be, based on construction milestones, we're going to be having staff conduct site visits that will require the nonprofit to be present at the site. I've been offering debrief calls to all applicants so that I can help them improve their application in the future. I'm also encouraging applicants to provide me with feedback regarding your experience with the program, and I welcome their suggestions on how we could make this better for next year or easier. And I plan on also assembling a working group within CHFA so that we can work together to enhance this program for 2021.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions or comments for Michelle? Okay, thank you, Michelle. Our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. If I can have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move it, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Second. Sarah, seconded. Thank you. Any comments on the consent agenda? Shelley, could you do the roll call, please?
Terry Abraham?
Yes.
Wendy Clark?
Aye.
Heidi DeWinger?
Aye.
Ann Foley? Aye. Kylie Goslin?
Aye.
Tim Hodges?
Aye.
Catherine McKinnon? Aye. Taylor Mascara Bruno?
Aye.
George Perez?
Yes.
Franklin Terry?
Aye.
Sarah Sanders?
Aye.
Jared Schmidt?
Aye.
Lisa Pepper Bates? Aye. Greg Ugaldi?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Shelley. Motion carries. And before we adjourn, just to remind you that we are going to give you vacation in August. So no meeting in August. We'll see you back in September. Can I have a motion to adjourn? And maybe just everybody says aye so we don't have the roll call.
So moved.
Aye.
Second, have a good summer, have a good month of August, and I will see you in September.
Everyone, thank you.
Bye.